So another week, another Courtney Kemp Q&A, breaking all things down Power Book 2 Ghost, Season 2, Episode 9. And she covered a lot of things which we're going to run through, especially with Lauren's death, or supposed death. So we're going to run through character by character, as usual. But she also teased Episode 10, and how an OG character will be returning, and in my opinion, is Tasha. Because those who have been watching my videos know I think once Tariq's trial is over, he's going to get his phone call to Tasha. Because it's been teased ever since Season 2, Episode 1. And if you remember, in Season 1, they teased Tommy in Episode 1. But we never saw him until the end. So I do think it is going to be Tasha, but maybe in just a phone call. Now, she also did tease a death that's going to affect us. And Kane, he's going to have a big decision to make. So I'm going to play you the preview for Episode 10 at the end as usual. But let's run through by character, focusing just on Power Book 2 Ghost related. And of course, we're going to start with Lauren's death.
Asked me if Lauren is really dead. A lot of you asked me if Lauren was really dead. And what I was going to say is there are lots of questions that you guys ask, like, did Monet kill Carrie? Which I did answer, I think, but is Lauren really dead? That, like, I can't answer that. Why would I answer that? That's going to be like the worst for you guys if I answer those questions. I want you to, like, actually, do your thing.
So she didn't confirm whether Lauren was dead or alive. But I do want to run through a few things, looking at both perspectives, why Lauren is dead, but also why she could be alive. And then it's kind of up to you guys to decide whether she is or she isn't.
5, can Effie be trusted? I think Effie can be trusted to do what's best for Effie. I have a question for you guys. I don't know if you agree with this or not, but one thing that I think is interesting is that I feel as though the requirement for Effie, sometimes for the fans, is that she be perfect or that she, like, be completely loyal to Tariq. But being loyal to Tariq in this case means not being loyal to herself. Like, there is a snitch out there. And if Kane got arrested, Effie's part of Kane's drug organization at this point. So is his mom. Like, so is Brayden. Like, they're all in it together. So the question really is, like, is Effie being disloyal to Tariq? Sort of. She's going behind his back to Kane, but what is the right thing? Is Tariq making the right decision letting Lauren live?
So this makes you think that Effie did kill Lauren because Effie knows that Lauren had to be taken out for the greater good, for everyone, for Brayden, Kane, Tariq, Monet, and herself. And she said it a few times across Episode 9 with how she was a snitch, and once she told Kane, it was game over for Lauren. So keeping Lauren alive doesn't make sense because Effie knows the game and she knows there can't be any loose ends. But let's have a look at the other perspective, and I'm going to play you 2 clips.
The Effie story in Episode 9 is really about her, and it starts in Episode 8, at the end of 8, but about her realizing she's in love with Tariq, like really in love with Tariq, and what that means for her, and what that means for her compromising some of her own decisions. Lauren comes to the door. She doesn't actually walk in the room. For those of you who noticed that, he blocks her body and he says, don't come in here, don't come in here. And she's like, of course I'm coming in here. But that is definitely on purpose, all of that.
So she's in love with Tariq, and Tariq blocked the door in his dream sequence. So if we were going to look at it from this perspective, if she's in love with Tariq and she's compromising some of her own decisions and some of her own beliefs, then could this mean that she let Lauren live? Because she knows Tariq will never forgive her if she did kill Lauren, because she's in love with Tariq. And Tariq also blocked Lauren from entering this dead zone because this room was full of all the dead people that Tariq was responsible for. And this is what I based my video on yesterday, and why I do believe Lauren could still be alive. So this kind of backs up my theory of Tariq's dream and why Lauren was there.
Asked, why didn't Effie change her clothes if she killed Lauren? Effie does not live in New York. Effie actually lives in New Haven. Effie wasn't supposed to be gone that long, so she had to come back and be with Tariq because that's what he's expecting her to do. She can't just go AWOL. That's a really important point, but I like that you guys are asking those questions, but the reality is none of these kids is Ghost. If you are expecting these kids to be able to do these things like professionals, they're not. They're trying to learn it and figure out. The reason that Effie showed up and followed Brayden is because she didn't believe that Brayden was going to go through with killing Lauren. Now, why is that? Because he's a kid. He's a kid just like her. She's doing things that are coming out of, like I said, dual motivations and all those feelings, but she's acting and reacting. She's not planning really coolly and simply like the way that you would see other people.
Now, this was also another point I raised in my video yesterday. Why didn't Effie change her clothes? And it does tell you the difference between Tariq and Effie. This was Effie's first supposed kill, if she did kill Lauren that is. But when Tariq dropped his first body, he had Ghost and he had Tasha. and Tasha told him that he needed to burn his clothes, shower, and scrub under his fingernails. And I don't think Effie has anyone, she's on her own, and she's probably had to make it on her own most of her life. Now, Courtney Kemp also did confirm that Effie and Mecca, they're not connected in any way, and Effie is not undercover or law enforcement either. But the last one on Effie before we move on to Brayden and Tariq.
I think that she is perfectly matched for Tariq, but she's also perfectly matched for Tariq, which means they are very similar, and they're going to do what they think is best for them at any given moment, which might not always work for a relationship. I hope that made sense.
So are they good for each other in the long term? If they kept things strictly business, then definitely, but it's more complicated than that, because Effie admitted to Tariq that it's too late, she's already attached and she loves him. But the question I think we should be asking is, does she love him more than he loves her? I think she does. But let's talk about Brayden and Tariq, and how exactly did Tariq manage to get the photo for Rashad Tate?
How did Tariq get that picture of Sweeney? We wrote the scene, you guys. Okay, so there was this whole scene where Tariq goes to Brayden's townhouse, and remember the maid, the black maid, Esme, who he talked to. Oh no, we cut that scene too, and oh Lord. So there was a whole character that we had in episode 201, the hunting episode, that we actually were supposed to bring back, and we ended up having to cut the scene.
So it was a deleted scene in the episode, which we didn't see, and I really do hope they release these deleted scenes one day, because I'm sure there's a lot more, but this photo is going to have so many more implications. It may get Rashad Tate what he wants, but Rick Sweeney will lose his reputation, and maybe Brayden's father as well. But that's not the reason why Brayden's going on the stand. Trace Weston is the reason why he's going on the stand. So I'm going to play you 2 clips before we run through Brayden taking the stand.
Else asked a good question. Why did he not snitch until now? And I think this is really important. So Kane threatens him, and so does Brayden. Brayden is like, do not do that. And then Tariq threatens him. If you remember, there's a number of times where Trace runs his mouth, and those 3 people are like, you're not going to do anything. But in the context of his parents' townhouse with his lawyer, in a situation where he feels comfortable, and again, we are talking about privilege, he doesn't understand what's on deck. He doesn't understand what he's doing when he's saying he's going to snitch on Kane Tejada. He doesn't get it. It's Brayden who actually gets it in that moment. He understands what Trace is doing, and that he is actually signing his own death warrant by offering to snitch. Will Brayden tell on Kane to protect himself and his family as well as Tariq? It may lead back to him. I think it's really interesting. I mean, if you're Brayden, you have a really tough decision to make, right? Your brother's in danger now because of what Kane did. If you think about it, it was Kane's fault protecting them in the first place, right? But he did, and so, here we are. We allowed Trace to walk around and live, and now Trace is about to open his mouth. Do you rat on your brother? Like, do you let your brother hang out there and testify? Do you rat on Kane to Jenny? Like, what are you gonna do?
So we're talking about Tariq's trial, and we all know Trace Weston, he knows too much, and if he testifies and takes the stand, then Kane will kill him, and Brayden knows this, which is why we're gonna see Brayden taking the stand instead of Trace. But will Brayden protect Tariq? I think he will, because he knows if Trace got up on the stand, he wouldn't be snitching just on Kane. It would definitely open up a whole can of worms, because he's a wild card, and he's gonna run his mouth. So the best thing for everybody is if Brayden takes a stand, because he's proven to us that he's not a snitch, and he can hold it down. So I do have faith that Brayden will stay loyal, but let's wait and see. Now let's move on and talk about Mecca, Monet, and Zeke, because there were a few unanswered questions. For example, did Lorenzo send the hitters at the basketball court?
But Lorenzo was upset that Drew chose revenge over business. I doubt he sent those hitters after Monet. This is a smart observation. I'm not going to confirm anything.
And this is something I raised before episode 9, because of a very similar move that Kanan and Ghost planned in season 5 of Power. I also didn't think it was a GTG, because Kane said they eliminated their whole bloodline, and it doesn't make sense for it to be Lorenzo, because in this moment, he doesn't know that Mecca is Dante. So this drive-by shootout was definitely orchestrated by Mecca, and I definitely think Mecca was the one who leaked the information about Zeke's age as well. And he did this because he wanted to put Monet and Zeke in a position where they had no choice but to lean on Mecca and to trust him. But in the end, Monet did find out about Mecca.
Oh, Biddy, why was Monet so calm when she found out Mecca and Dante are the same person? This is a great question. And I'm going to say something that is a lot of women may relate to, or people who have been tricked in a romantic relationship. Her reaction very internally is, I should have seen that shit coming. sometimes you're not even mad at the other person because you're like, man, I fucking played myself though.
And when she put 2 and 2 together, she realized how much she was being played. So now she's gone from being played to the one playing the game, and with wanting to take Mecca down. But will Mecca see this coming? That's the thing. And I've got 2 more points on Mecca. Could the ring still play a part in episode 10?
Does Mecca care about that ring, or does he want the bag because of the info in the bag? It is both, but that ring is very important. That is an engagement ring, and do you know who that engagement ring is for? I think you guys do know who that's for.
Now, we all know Mecca's a snitch, but he's someone who has cameras and tracking devices on most of his prized assets. And if there was a tracking device in this bag, then there could very well be a tracking device on the ring, which may come back to Davis McLean. But Mecca is someone who shouldn't even be in the country. It was a clue that was left in the conversation between McLean and Tariq, and this explains why Mecca has always wanted to leave the country with Monet on his jet. And if he's not meant to be in the country, it also means law enforcement doesn't know that he's here, because they pulled him out of the country to protect him, so he's probably got more enemies than one. But wrapping up with what we can expect for episode 10, Courtney Kemp did tease that Kane, he's got a big decision to make. We're gonna see a big death that affects us, and a power character will return. And I've already said I think it's gonna be Tasha that's gonna return. But on Kane and the death, that's gonna affect us. That's a tricky one, because we saw Tariq telling Kane in the episode 10 trailer, after this, you ain't ever gonna be the same. So could Tariq be indirectly telling him that he's never been the same since he killed his father? But what does it mean for Kane? What's his plan, and what is he gonna do next? Drop me your predictions down below on these 3 questions, and I'll leave you with what Courtney Kemp said with her teaser for the season finale for Power Book 2 Ghost Season 2.
I will tell you one thing, which is you will see a face from the past. You will see a face from Power Book 1. I will tell you guys that there is at least one very happy thing that happens. And I will say that Kane has to make a very, very difficult decision in episode 10. And it's one that can change basically the course of the game. There are a few deaths. Of course, there's always death in every finale, but there is one that I think will really affect you guys. And trying to think if there's anything else I need to tell you. I guess I'm hoping you like it. It's only an hour and 10 minutes long, so it's not going to answer all the questions. And luckily enough, season 3 has already been picked up.